What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Ministry Hacks Part 3 of how to plan your event. So you're planning an event, you have your theme, your topic, you have a team of passionate, talented people ready to go to help you with your event. So what do you do next? You make a schedule. But how do you make the best use of your event's time without cramming too much in a short amount of time and to keep everyone engaged? So we're gonna look at 3 tips to help maximize your time for your event. Let's go.
Okay, buddy, he's doing something.
I've been doing more than you. Welcome back, everybody, and if you missed the first 2 videos, be sure you go back and watch those to kind of help get yourself a good solid foundation of starting your event. One of the things that we all know, and it seems kind of obvious, is that sometimes scheduling can be very difficult, especially when you're so passionate and you have a lot of information, or you have a team of people who have a lot of information about one specific theme. That's what you're trying to go for. It can be really hard to make sure you don't overwhelm your participants with information, trying to put so much together and listing everything in your event back to back, causing it to be very difficult to get everything in, and then you overwhelm your participants so much that they don't have time to really digest and soak in everything that they're experiencing. And obviously making sure that the key aspects or key points of your event are clearly being done effectively, right? You want to make sure you're communicating your point and everything that you're trying to get across to your participants. You want to make sure it's done clearly. There's no confusion. There's no disassociation between your content and the theme and what you're trying to have them walk away with, because that's a whole part of you planning your event from the beginning, to knowing your theme and your topic and asking yourself, what do I want everybody who comes to the event, what do I want them to walk away with? What do I want to leave them with as they wrap up this event? And so keeping that in mind, you want to make sure that everything is done cleanly and very, very smoothly and effectively. You don't want any of that confusion. So going into these 3 tips, tip number 1 is to keep in mind short breaks, especially if your event is kind of lengthy. It's okay to take a couple of breaks throughout or whatever. You want to make sure you do it appropriately, not too much, not too long, and not too infrequent. But make sure that it's happening, right? A lot of times what that can do is that it gives your participants time to really soak in what they just heard or what they just experienced. And then it helps them prepare for what's coming next. Also during these times, it gives them a chance to talk to each other, to continue on having conversations with what they all just heard. And that's good. It helps build upon what you're trying to give out to everybody and what information you're trying to convey. This kind of goes right along with tip number 2, and that's build in buffer times. These transitional periods between different aspects of your event. It's okay to have plenty of those, whatever it may be, and that's why it kind of goes in with these breaks too, because once again, it allows your participants to soak everything in. And there's also other things that you may not completely have thought about, like travel time. I mean, as weird as it sounds, being able to walk from one place to the other, is really crucial. You might need that time. There's a youth retreat we did, and we made this change because it never became a huge issue with us as far as our scheduling, because we were always very flexible and things were always easy to move. That's kind of what we built it in. But to go from one building in our venue to the next, we allowed travel time. Time to actually physically walk from one place to the other before we kind of start off into our next aspect of the event we're about to do. The other part of this really helps you, the organizer, be able to plan and help with issues. You might have technical difficulties that you didn't know of or just came up so all of a sudden, and you need time to kind of pan those out and work those out. So it gives you enough time to kind of make those adjustments to get ready for the next part of your event, as well as fix any issues that might be. And these buffer and transition periods don't have to be like super long, but just enough to kind of help you get prepared and set up for the next part of your event, whether that be guest speaker or breakout sessions or whatever other aspects of your event you may have. So this goes into tip number 3. Keep it flowing. Keep things flowing smoothly. Keep it all going together. Make sure that each segment of your event is flowing smoothly, without any confusion, without any hiccups or interruptions that could throw off the overall flow of your theme or of your event. This is things like just even physically, right? Making sure that every place, when you're going from maybe this main speaking room to this breakout session, or if you're doing a long period of time where there's eating involved or concessions of some sort, everything is kind of flowing smoothly. Sometimes it could, without thinking, you can kind of it looks good on paper, but when you get down to actually doing it, it doesn't flow smoothly. One such event for us, having nearly over 15 years of experience in youth ministry, doing a lot of retreats and camps, for example, we had an event, and we actually took feedback from a leader. The next year we kind of brought him in and said, hey, what was there anything that we could have done differently or done better or keep doing from the previous year's event? And one of the things he mentioned was shortening down some of the time, because his students were having trouble sitting still for longer periods of time. And so we looked at how can we break this up from, because we were having worship session, and then we were having a guest speaker, and then of course our intro above all that, introducing things and little activities and stuff like that. It's a long time for them to all be in one area. So and to me, early on, that made sense. Let's do everything here, and then when we're done here, then let's go here. But the team, we got to discussing, and we thought, well, we got this ironed down on paper. Let's just give it a shot this coming year event, because that's the benefit of the event that we've done. It's an annual thing, so you do it every single year. You take bits and pieces that were good, and you send it on to next year. Then you take, well, this is not very good, we're not going to do that then either. So what we did is we designed it to where, okay, in our venue we have the main meeting area here, and then we have a gym down here, and there's some distance in between. Instead of doing everything up here then going there, we started off up here, did some intro, did some worship, then we sent them down to the gym to do the breakout sessions or activities or whatnot, and then we brought them back up to do the speaker. So in my mind, having them walk back and forth was like, oh, let's not do that. But it kept them moving, it allowed kind of all these other tips that we've done all in one thing. It allowed them a break so they can have this time to kind of walk, talk, digest, and communicate with each other. And it also allowed a good buffer time to help us transition into the next thing and give a chance to get ready or fix issues or whatever may have happened. And then with our schedule, the flow still happened. Even though it was kind of bouncing back and forth, the flow was still there. Everything was consistent, and it was still very highly effective. So you want to make sure that you listen to that feedback and you keep it flowing, right? Keep it flowing. The bonus tip to throw out here is to look for ways to saturate other aspects of your event with your theme or topic. Doesn't always have to be, for instance, in our case, with a retreat or a camp, it doesn't always have to be guest speaker and breakout sessions. You have a lot of content, you want to get it out there. Don't add 3 more guest speakers and 2 more sessions. Let's just find another ways that we can saturate our theme into the event in different aspects. So for example, our games, we look at our activities and our games is how can we take our theme and find or create some games that tie along with it. The message behind it, or the point behind it may kind of go along with our overall theme. Another thing is that we do overnight retreats and camps, and so in the mornings we have like a time limit with God. So here's a moment for each person there. They either have scripture or a little devotional type time, or just them with God, and all those are centered around, the main point of it is centered around our theme. So you continue to saturate, you continue to feed this information to your participants, even though it's not the main avenues of your event, but they're still getting it. So a thing that we also started doing the last 4 or 5 years is taking our schedules and making badges. And this does a multitude of things. Number one, it has names in there all weekend long, so we get to learn each other's names. Has a theme of that. This was a couple years ago, the War Within. And then we actually put our schedule on the back. So I know you can't really see, but it's small print. This is our schedule for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so it's always with them at all times, to where they know where they got to be and when they got to be there. So here is just a couple examples of some of these schedules broken down. And you can see here, I've done a number of different ways, but typically what is in bold is just the overall general time and place you got to be. And then I always kind of break it down for my volunteers to kind of know more specifically exact times and what they're doing. But what is on the back of the badges ends up just being what is in bold. So for the participants, that's all they really know, right? I didn't used to do that. Up until about 4 or 5 years ago, all that information was being put on paper and then taped everywhere around where people are going to be. But now we started doing badges and condensing, so here's just the important times and places you need to be, and there you go. But you see here, here's a gym, and then you got to walk from the gym up to our main meeting area, which is called Hill Hall. You see there, you got to be at Hill Hall at 7:30, but we actually don't start, an introduction type of thing until 7:45, because that 15 minutes is that transition buffer time. Gives them a chance to go from one area to the other, and enough time to file in, use a restroom, whatever it may be, before we actually hit the start button, so to speak. And so that happens like that, built in all the time. Sometimes in my outlines I'll actually put in like 5 minutes of travel time, but then when I actually finalize it, it's actually built into the overall time, so you don't have a bunch of different lines for, say, travel time on it. But so that's an example of allowing the buffer time to do it, and that happens throughout the entire weekend. Anytime we go from one place to the other, I try to allow for some of that transitional periods to be there, whether it's labeled exact or it's just labeled something else, but it's built into it, and it's hitting all those points. It's creating a break from what's happening, go from one thing to the next. It gives time for them to soak in everything they just heard and experienced, and then prepare for the next thing. And the flow just works, not only just physically, but also with the consistency of your theme or topic for your event. Keeps everything going. And then, just everything that we can do, we can saturate with our theme and topic. So I hope these tips kind of help you in planning your event and scheduling things out. Leave comments. Maybe if there's something that you found in your experience that helps you plan a youth retreat or camp or other event that is helpful, hey, throw it down in the comments and let everyone else know and kind of build that into their next event they do. Be sure to like this video if you found it helpful, subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to stay tuned for the next ministry hack, part number 4. We're going to go behind the scenes of some of the events of the retreats and camps we've done, and look at production and staging and all the other things that you don't normally get to know about when you're planning the event. So until then, we'll see you in the next video.